Hello, everybody, and welcome to another great episode of My EdTech Life. Thank you so much for joining us on this wonderful morning, wherever in the world you may be. Again, thank you as always for making us part of your day. Thank you as always for all of your wonderful support. And I am excited to be here with you all today. I mean, I know we're all on break and on holidays. Some of you may still be in your pajamas too. That's great. Some of you may be up and about, regardless. Thank you as always. And today I'm really excited to talk to a really good friend, a coffee mate, I might say. So thank you so much. Today, Jared and I are enjoying some Loveland coffee from South Carolina that he sent over. So I'm really excited about our today's caffeinated conversation. That's right. So, Jared, how are you doing this morning?
I am doing well, Fonz. Good morning. I
All right.
and I people are in their pajamas. I showed up to work today, so you got to feel extra special. I came in to work to do this, but
Awesome.
that
Yeah. So that's
but
an
for everybody
interesting
watching this,
story.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that was an
because I have
interesting
four
story you
kids.
were talking about.
Yeah, I have four kids at home. My house is not quiet, so this is the quietest place I could find to do this.
No, that works, and I'm really excited and thankful. So thank you, Jared, so much for making this happen. And I'm just really excited about today's conversation as we're going to be talking about instructional tech and tech coaching overall. And of course, I know you from actually just connecting with you on Twitter and of course through Google everything, Google Innovator and coaching and all that stuff. So before we get started and dive into the conversation, Jared, if you can go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience members and give yourself, also give your context and education. So, there you go. I'm highly
My name is
caffeinated.
yeah. My name is yes. That's the other thing. It's like I hope I don't talk too fast because I've had like 3 or 4 cups of coffee already. My name is Jared Johnson, and I am currently an instructional technology coach for a small private school in South Carolina. But before that, I have spent 16 years in public education as a high school social studies teacher and as a instructional technology coach.
Perfect. Okay. So now also I'd like to add one more thing. Can you tell us something interesting about yourself that people may not know?
Ooh, okay. So, one of the ways I like to relax, and everybody thinks this is a weird thing to do, I find detailing cars relaxing. Like, I put my headphones on and I clean the cars. I'm in my own world. When I'm done, I look back. I'm like, I did something. It's beautiful. They're clean until my kids get into it. And, I just find that relaxing. And I will spend hours doing that.
That's great. And I know I have seen some photos I think that you've posted before where you'll show like a before and after, you show the van or you'll show, the car, and I'm like, wow. So that's really cool, getting interested, and getting into the detailing. And I've seen people those detailing videos. For me, I really enjoy when I watch those because I just see all the brushes and just the way they get into everything and just clean that car. So I would imagine it's relaxing. It's relaxing for me to watch, not so much do, but watching it, I'll do that any day. All right. Well, Jared, thank you so much for that brief intro. But this is my favorite segment too, as well, which is really getting into that superhero origin story. And like I tell all my guests, anybody that is a guest on the My EdTech Live show is somebody that I look up to because of the great work that they're doing on, not only on social media, that they're posting the work that they're doing for themselves and, for others around them. So I want to know the Jared Johnson origin story. Was education something that you wanted to get into, that you knew, or was it something that you kind of fell into and you grew?
I want to say a little bit of both. So, as a child, you played school, and I was one of those, teacher's pet type things. And then in high school, you kind of fall out of it and you're starting to look at different career choices. But really, what steered me into education was I had two really important high school teachers, and I credit both of them for putting that bug into me, for wanting to teach. So anytime I can, I like to shout out Mr. Scott Haber, who really influenced me to become a teacher, to be the best teacher I could be. One of the best compliments he gave me when I was student teaching and substituting was that he thought I was the only person that had graduated that could give him a run for his money in the career field. So I was just thought that meant so much to me.
Wow,
But
that's great.
he was what got me into teaching.
Excellent. So now tell us a little bit about your journey into education. Just, I'm always curious to, once you get in there, what were some of the things that maybe you kind of wish you knew before you got in?
Um, I guess some of the things I wish I would have known is how to better take care of yourself. But the burnout thing is real. And I remember feeling that burnout within those first 5 years of my career, because you really do want to be the best, do the best. You're pretty much living your teaching life to the fullest extent that you can. So you're active at school, you're active with your students, and so when you hear people talk about 5 years seems to be when people start to waver and consider other career choices. I was at that point at the 5 year mark for sure.
All right. So a
So
little bit of
one of
that
those things where
self care.
I wish, and again, I graduated college in 2004, so self care and all that kind of mindset things just weren't a thing as they are today. So that's just one of the things I wish could have been there, to help take care of your mind and body as you work, because teaching is high stress, and you're really high strung, and I've had some really awful administrators in my career, which have made things a lot worse. And so, how do you tackle that? Take care of yourself, take care of those situations, things that you didn't learn in college.
Okay, good. That's fair enough. And, it really makes sense. And that's oftentimes what I've heard even coming into this career. And like you said, the self care wasn't as talked about when I first started back in 2005, 2006, and kind of coming in from a different background. And now you see that and it's really prevalent. And you're like, wow, this definitely things that you wish you knew prior to getting started. So now I want to know, so you did the teaching, you were, classroom teacher, and then now you're transitioned, or you have transitioned into a tech coach, and you've done that for a couple of districts now. So I kind of want to know a little bit of how that transition came about. Were you already implementing tech within your lessons, or was this something that, later on you just found yourself like, what, I'm really tech savvy, let me go ahead and put in for this job, and you ended up getting that role. So tell us a little bit about that journey.
So I got into it kind of by accident, really. So I'm teaching high school social studies, and I've always been big into technology. So I remember when I was first introduced to the LCD projector, right? And that just blew my mind. And because I have horrible handwriting, I hated writing on a board. Like I'm left-handed. It always never looked good. It's just so when I was introduced to the LCD projector and PowerPoint, like that just completely revolutionized how I taught, to the fact that, my district only had one LCD projector. And so when I couldn't check that out, or if I had to return it, I finally went out and bought my own. And, being young first year teacher, you don't have a whole lot of money. And those things were about $500 to begin with. And so, put almost an entire paycheck into buying an LCD projector. And that was really kind of where I started to use technology. And I found that the kids enjoyed that more. They were more engaged because I was able to make learning more visibly appealing, or visually appealing, to the students by adding the animations and having the fun, different backgrounds that kind of help propel things forward. And then I was that teacher that always used the computer lab. So I was always checking, reserving the computer lab. I brought my kids in. Don't remember the name of the website that I used, but I remember with my ninth graders, there was this animation website, very basic, but you could make these animated characters and they could have little speech bubbles. And so with history, that was really kind of my go-to thing is every unit that we did, they had to make a cartoon where their historical figures had to talk about, what we learned. And that was part of their projects. And I just, the kids always loved it. I thought it was really cool. Some of the other teachers kind of caught attention to it. And that was really neat. Fast forward to another school district I was at, there wasn't a computer lab, but we had a laptop cart with laptops, and these things barely worked. I think they had Windows XP on it or Windows 2000 or something like that. And for whatever reason, I don't remember how I came to the idea, but I decided to buy a bunch of flash drives, put Linux on them, and put Linux on these laptops. And because they didn't work, and everybody thought the laptop cart was broken, it kind of became mine. And so with Linux running on them, I was able to have the students do different things like wikis. I had a wiki page that I would post my notes to, and the kids could go there and answer questions. We did Google Earth projects like crazy because that was back when Google Earth had to get installed on a computer and all this kind of neat stuff that I was able to do with it. And then the district was like, oh, well, this is interesting. And so then they gave me a smart board, and I put it in quotations because it's a knockoff type smart board. And so I started using that, and then I realized that there was a master's program in educational technology. So then I pursued a master's in that. That's when I learned how to really kind of tear down computers and use all sorts of different websites and Web 2.0, all that stuff back then. And so that kind of propelled me into using technology more and more with my students. And finally, they kind of came to me and they said, we have a grant with the Department of Ed for a tech specialist, somebody that can go around and teach teachers how to use technology. Would you be interested in it? And I was like, yeah, for sure. And so I kind of fell into it by accident. It was like January of 2010 where I left the classroom and started that journey. And that's just kind of taken me to different districts and different places and landed me to where I'm at today. Like, I remember Google in its infancy when we tried it out with Gmail. Like, that was the big deal. We're going to give teachers Gmail. And I just, all that beginning stuff it's just cool to look back and to see where we are today in education.
Nice. Well, look, I really love that journey and everything that you shared there. You can definitely see the passion. And again, a lot of the stuff resonates with me too, as well, because I was that one teacher. Like when we first started getting Chromebook carts in our schools, we only had 2 carts per elementary. So we had the cows for or computers on wheels, as we call it, the cows for, two per campus, and I was the one teacher that would check it out all year long because not a lot of teachers were familiar with it. And I was just signed it out every day out of the week and just pretty much just lived there in my classroom and, having some fun with the kids. And similar story too, just because of the passion that I had for tech, got to transition into this role too as well. So very great story there. And now I wanted to ask you too, because you mentioned Google and you mentioned this back in 2010. So with the whole infancy, I didn't learn about Google till like way later in my career, but I know that you're heavily involved, and I know, you have been part of several programs. I mean, obviously level 1, level 2, trainer, coach, and innovator, which is, I think, pretty much all the badges that you can get in education. So tell us a little bit about that journey too, as well. How you just diving into the Google ecosystem and then working with Google too, as well. I think even, on some programs, I believe even on the coaching program too, as well. So tell us a little bit about that experience.
Yeah. So I think I don't remember when, but I remember, working on the Google level one and level two back before it was popular or famous. I had that prior to 2017, but really my life changed in terms of coaching in 2017 when my school was invited to participate in the Dynamic Learning Project, which was a research project on best practices with technology coaching, instructional coaching that was done through Google for Education, Digital Promise, and EdTech team. And so we were flown out to Google's headquarters there in Sunnyvale for a week long intensive, and I mean intensive, like 12-hour days. Going from one thing to another. It was fantastic, stressful, but fantastic. And we learned how to do a coaching cycle. So using their challenge-based coaching cycle, we went through, how to implement a technology cycle, how to get your principal on board. And that was kind of the neat thing, is your principal had to come with you on that trip. So that was very powerful as well, because you got the first time ever that I got to sit down with my principal and truly collaborate and really get to know them and have a back and forth. That really changed not only the definition of coaching, but the definition of the relationship between coach and principal, because before then I was just a tech in the building, right? Like I would lead monthly PD. Here's a cool app, everybody try it, see you later. To now being, part of that decision making process, that leadership team in the school to drive where instruction should be going, where they want it to go, and then becoming more of an integral part of the classroom, and teachers using me to be a coach, to be there with them instead of being the guy that you would come to the library once a month to learn a new app or strategy, and then I don't see them again until they need help. So that was really the change of where things went, because we learned about the trainer program and the innovator program. And so when my mentors like Heather Dowd and Dee Lanier, they were my mentors through the Dynamic Learning Project. And so, they were trainers, they were innovators. And so that really motivated me to go, oh, well, I have level one and level two. Let me see what the next level is. And that really just kind of started my journey. And then because we were part of the Dynamic Learning Project, the original cohort of it, we were automatically made the Google certified coaches, because the DLP is what turned into the certified coaching program with Google.
So I just want to give a big shout out though, Georgina. She's joining us through LinkedIn. I know that her name is not showing up here, but she does say Jared was such a key component of the Google EC program as we know it today. He made such a positive impact on instructional coaching. Bravo. So thank you, Georgina, who's joining us all the way from across the pond. Thank you, Georgina. Appreciate it. And big shout out also to Coach William Jeffrey, who's joining us too as well. Coach, big shout out. Thank you so much. And Jared, this is, so interesting, because that's the way that I knew about this, kind of getting connected with, global GEG and all those members. And then of course, hearing about the coaching, certification also as well. And then I saw your name being mentioned. Actually, you talked about it, stating, how you were part of that. And I was like, wow, this guy's this guy is in there and everything. And that's been great, because every single time, and this is no joke, this is the first time I share this with you, because it's the first time we really kind of hang out and talk, but every time I see that coaching badge, you are the first person that I think of because of that and that conversation. And I'm like, oh, cool. So every time I see that on anybody's signature or anybody sharing, first thing that comes to mind is like, okay, cool, congratulations. And then it's like, Jared Johnson, there you go, everybody. So that's awesome. So that's great. And so talk to us now a little bit. Okay, so we got the coaching, you've got that wonderful experience working through the program and so on. So now some of the questions that I have, because you did mention, being a tech coach for a couple of districts, because obviously this job or this role has been able to open up doors for you. And now this is something that we're starting to see a lot more. I think it's more prevalent now after COVID, where now it's like, well, you have instructional coaches, and now you have, technology coaches, and then you have all sorts of coaches now in coaching roles. But, just for as an example, or a question about being a tech coach, how have you seen this role evolve from the first time that you took on this role into what you are currently doing now?
So, that's a really good question. And so, my experience, I'll talk to you about from my experiences. So, when we started out, when we brought the dynamic learning project and the challenge based coaching model back to my school, it really revolutionized what we were doing. And I was one of, well, now I've lost track, 12, 13. There was 13, 12 of us at the middle school, high school level in my district that was a part of the dynamic learning project. And so we were really able to revolutionize our role. And because we actually had a title change from technology integration specialist to digital learning coach. And so that helped drive the change. We were now considered part of the leadership team with the principals, and we were driving, those changes in the building. We're finding out what challenges teachers needs, and we're helping them meet it through technology. And really, just I can't say enough. Like William said in there, the instructional training was the best PD he's ever had as an educator, and that is true. The coaching program has been and still is the best PD I have ever received. And really the thing that has changed my mindset, changed the mindset of my school. And again, it opened doors as well because it gave me the experience, the badge. It also gave you the PLN. Before that, I didn't have a PLN, didn't really know what a PLN was. And so that opened up a door to PLNs. And then through COVID, the global GEG groups and things from there just kind of really, really blew up. Now, the cool thing is like during COVID, that was one of the good things about COVID, if there's any good things, is that instructional coaching, technology coaching, that became a big thing because we were all reliant on that technology. So teachers were hungry for it. They wanted it. They needed it. Like anything that you could support them with, they were all about. And even for the first year or two after the pandemic, being a coach, at least in my experience where I was living, was really, really important. But then things started to change. And even to today, teachers now have a mindset of either I got this because I already know everything about technology because COVID taught me everything about technology, or things are finally back to the way they were, and I'm going to go back to the way they were. Paper and pencil, please. Do not open your Chromebook, MacBook, iPad, whatever it is. We are going back to the old ways. And so I remember being having the printer access so I could see, how much was being printed at one time. And, during COVID, it was like, very little. And even after COVID, it was still very little. And then all of a sudden, once things returned to normal, all of a sudden everybody's standing there at the copy machine. And I became a little bit of an enemy when I started calculating how many minutes to hours to how much of your lifespan you're using standing at the copier, because I was trying to like, oh, come on, we're taking too many steps back. We got Chromebooks, we got these devices, like we've done so well. What is happening? And so for me, in my experience, it seems like there's been a walk backwards, and I kind of feel like that's been a lot larger than even we're in my sphere, because the being a part of the dynamic learning project and the Google certified coaching program has allowed me to be mentors for other teachers and other districts. And so and I still keep up with my PLN from that group, and everybody seems to be experiencing the same thing, where there's been like a step back, if not multiple steps back, from the way things were from 2017 to say 2021. We've started to, and then schools have started to put more responsibility on their coaches that are not coaching related. So it's the extra duties. And again, we're in a subbing crisis and things like that. So you're asked to sub, and when you're doing that, you're starting to downgrade your role. And so you're no longer looked at that as that instructional person, but more as an extra body in the school that can be used to do whatever it is they need you to do. And that was where I started to get frustrated in the last year or so, where I just became an extra body and people weren't showing up to PDs. I only had one or two people on a coaching cycle. It was like, okay, what's happening here? And
No, and I agree with you.
that's where I've seen
Yeah, no, I
it.
agree with you. Going back to what you said, and what you're seeing, I can attest to that too, where coming back, back to brick and mortar after, being shut down, it's like all the tech was put away and put away in the back. And I know it's such a strong word, but I think it was just more of like a trauma sort of where for teachers they saw those devices, and just by seeing those devices they just said no, that's only COVID related, and that's only for COVID, and that's the only time we're ever going to use it, so let's just put them back. And they ended up just in the back of the room. Nobody was really using them at all whatsoever, going back to brick and mortar, going back to the copy machines, going back to just the traditional way. And I'm not opposed, as one thing is good teaching is good teaching, but we're missing out on so much though, where students can be creating some of their learning too, and being just more hands-on and using those tools. And like you said, it was that extreme of no, I'm just going to go back to the way I used to do things. But then you had some teachers that really took off and are doing some great things with it. And sometimes a little, I don't want to say a little too much, but in our district we've kind of had to reel back because we do have adopted platforms that we are using, and we keep it simple in our district. But of course we know that there are some teachers that are very innovative. They're constantly on Twitter, and they are willing to try new things, and they're risk takers, and I applaud them for that. But at the same time, then they're not using what we have, and we're also trying to get data and measure those things. Because this year what we did is we actually sent out a Google form and asked teachers, what are the platforms that you're using? What is it that maybe you would like to have? We got back some awesome feedback. We narrowed it down. We had some teachers test out those platforms, and we adopted according to the needs. But then now all of a sudden, we have that vote. But we know that obviously sometimes people may not be very happy with what you're doing. And so now you have people, or you have teachers that are using things that we're not adopting. And then they call us and say, hey, this isn't working. Okay. And then we say, well, we're sorry. Our answer is we're sorry, but this is not a district adopted platform and there's nothing that we can do. And then they get upset. But, so we see those two big differences there too as well. And slowly this year though, it's getting a little bit better where now the Chromebooks are being out. But I don't know if it's so much because the teachers want to bring them out, but also because all our state testing is all on the computers, and the kids need to practice their state testing. And so there's a platform that we have that really emulates the state test. And so now it's like, okay, this is what we need you to use to practice. Your drag and drops to practice your constructor response, the hotspots, and all of that. And so come January, it's usually during testing season. I call it January. Once we're back, it's testing season all the way till May. So we'll definitely see some usage going up on that. But I feel that we're just simply creating testing machines and not creators, in their learning for our students. And that's something a little bit that we need to do a little bit more of. So what have been, I know you've mentioned these because these are obstacles, but what are some ways that maybe you've slowly, I know you've transitioned into a new school, a new district, fresh start, sort of. What are some things that you're kind of doing to really take that coaching role and really let it be seen as that, as a coaching role for your teachers?
So one of the interesting things is I was able to transition over to a private school who really sees a value in needing a coach. They've never had the true coaching role, but needs somebody to help push teachers forward. And so one of the unique challenges being in a private school is you have a lot of people who have never been exposed to coaching, or to what instructional coaching is, or any kind of tech coaching. Because one of the interesting things is, at least in where I work, To teach middle school and high school, you just need a master's degree or higher to teach. You don't need a teaching certificate. And so you have a lot of people that have just come straight out of college or the workforce, and they're teaching in the content area that they know best, where it's science, English, or whatever. And we also have some teachers that have been retired from the public school system, but retired years ago before tech coaching and instructional coaching was a thing. And so one of the things I've been trying to do just to show what coaching is just doing little things of, hey, doing the basics. How are you? What can I help you with today? What challenges are you having? And trying to get my foot in the door to certain things like, well, I have some students that are not engaged, so what are you doing? And having those conversations to kind of to roll things forward, but then also trying to provide, I hate doing sit and get PD where I'm the one delivering the PD and people are just listening. But that just seems to be another way in. I've learned just to get my foot in the door to show that I am human, that I am here to help and things like that. And so, and of course, I'm trying to make it fun. One of the biggest compliments I have gotten since I started is that my PD sessions are engaging and fun, and they keep getting better with each one, which to me is a great compliment, because I have always believed as a teacher to give your students an experience. Like, learning should be an experience where they're hopefully having fun. Not everything is going to be fun, and not everything's going to be a great experience, but they're doing something. They're actively learning. And so I try to do that with the teachers as well, where I'm not just standing up there next to a TV going, and here is this, and here's how to use it. It's like, okay, let's dive into it. Here's what I want you to create something. And that's been the biggest thing. And my biggest, like, if I'm going to get up on a stool to preach, it would be getting students to create. We are very lucky in this school. Our high school students have MacBooks. Our eighth graders all the way down to fourth grade have one-to-one iPads. We need to be creating. We don't need to be consuming anything. We actually need to use them more, because sometimes they're not even being used at all. But it really gets students creating. And that was kind of been my foot in the door with a couple of teachers, is getting students to create. And so we did one of the things that just kind of blew away the teachers and the students was using Flipgrid, something that I've taken advantage of many years, but this crew has never been exposed to Flipgrid, or Flip as it's called now. And so they did a newscast from ancient India using Flip's tools, and it was amazing. Like, it blew the teacher away. It got other teachers wondering what was going on. And that's really what I like to see. That's really where the power and the motivation comes in. And what really gets me excited too is like when the kids are enjoying it, the teachers enjoying it, and other teachers in the hallway are like, what's going on? What is that? And then recently, right before we went on break, I had our geography teacher was like, I want the kids to create a virtual field trip. How can we do that? And so this is where I'm a little bit of a troublemaker, right? So whenever Jared Johnson comes around, I somehow inadvertently stir up trouble. We are one-to-one iPads at my school. To build a virtual reality tour using Google Earth, I needed real computers, or I needed a laptop type situation. I found some Chromebooks that weren't being used. And so I ushered in the Chromebooks. The kids love the Chromebooks, maybe a little too much, over the iPads. But they were able to create, and they took Google Slides, Google Earth, and they were able to create tours of different countries and really just create some awesome stuff, and then be able to share it. They could go on each other's tours and answer questions. It was really, really neat. But again, it's all in that creativity part, getting the students to create. And, the teacher was like, I really kind of forgot what it's like to have the students create. I need to do more of this. Because you do kind of forget. You kind of get into your routine. And so worksheet, Google Form, Google Doc, but the students aren't really creating and producing anything. And one of the things that I've always been impressed is that, and I hate to say this, and so forgive me, all of you out there that might get offended on this, but it's like, being in public school, for all the years I was in public school, a lot of the kids are just apathetic. They don't want to do anything. You have to poke and prod, and you have some good success stories with them, but you do have to do a lot of poking and prodding. And one of the biggest surprises to me being in a private school is it's a whole new world. It's a whole completely different clientele. And so those kids not only reach your goals or, what your expectations that you set with it, but go beyond it. And that's been like the biggest and most powerful, coolest thing. Cause I have to remind teachers, these kids will perform for you. Like, this is where I kind of put the baseline at, but then I have kids going, Mr. Johnson, can I use iMovie and flip together to add music and to do this and to add these special effects and make it more, a robust news situation? I'm like, yes, go ahead. Or, another student going, can I make a video that I can then put into my Google Earth project and talk about what the street view that they're seeing? And I'm like, yes, like, oh my God, yes, please do, like, it's really, really, it's been a completely 180 for me, because it's like when you do give the kids here at my current school that opportunity, like, they are excited. They want to perform. Not all of them, don't get me wrong. Not all of them are eager. But they just really kind of rise above and take things even further. And that's, to me, is just where the magic is. And what I like to preach to the teachers, going, look what they are doing. Look what they can do if you give them the opportunity. So a lot of what I do as a coach is taking those opportunities where I've been able to get into the classrooms and then show it off to other teachers. Like, celebrate those teachers that have allowed me to come in, celebrate those students, show off their work, to really help motivate and get everybody excited to show that, oh, they can do this. We don't have to be paper and pencil or do the very basic stuff. Like, we can take things even further. And that's just, again, what I've been trying to do is promote. I do a newsletter. I showcase. One of the things I was used to in my previous district is you tweet everything. You tweet it all to show everything that you're doing. My school's a little more reserved with that. They don't want a lot of stuff out there. So that's why I don't tag the school in a lot of my posts and things like that, or show a whole lot of specifics and the things that I tweet and share. But I do want to share and show and document for those teachers and for everybody out there to say, look at what they're doing. They're doing some really cool, magical stuff.
Excellent. Yeah, so getting some great comments here, some great feedback from Georgina. Georgina says here, how great would it be for us to create the same culture across all education sections, not only private? Great comment there. And then, of course, Coach Jeffrey chiming in also. It says, truth be told, some of the apathy is coming from some teachers' attitudes towards their craft. All right.
100%, yeah.
Great conversation. Look at that. Jared stirring up the chat this morning, obviously powered by Loveline Coffee. Thank you so much, Jared, for sending this over, because I am welcome. Trying to hold myself back from all of this awesome conversation. But so, Jared, so tell us a little bit more. Like, you've described, just some great things, and going back to the creative component. I completely agree with you. Many times, I think teachers do not see what students are allowed to do just by putting the Chromebook in their hands. And oftentimes, I think it's also just that fear of the unknown, where the teachers maybe have never done it. Maybe they're scared to take that risk. Maybe they're just not comfortable. And so, what are some ways, maybe, I know you were working with the students, but now as the teachers are seeing what the students are doing, what are some of the ways that you work with the teachers to kind of just make them feel a little bit more comfortable with what they're seeing and just be willing to take that risk? What is it that you're currently doing?
So a lot of it comes, trying to promote. So, promoting things through a newsletter, whether, sometimes I offer like PD sessions to try to get people to come to. And then a lot of it just comes from conversation. I want to be seen. My campus is pretty spread out. It's kind of built like a college campus. So we are 2-year-olds all the way to 12th grade. And so it's trying to be visible in all those different sections and have conversations with teachers to find out what is happening and what is going on. And, one of the things that everybody tells me is a positive, part of my positive personality is I'm very approachable, and that, teachers feel comfortable talking to me. So that's kind of been a benefit where teachers have come and talked to me. And so when they express their challenges or things that they want to try, it's telling them, what I'm here to help support you. Like, what can I do to help you? I can help plan with you. Give me your planning period schedule. I can come plan with you. I can help. I know you don't have a whole lot of time in your day. If there's anything that I can build ahead of time, or if you need me to make copies, whatever it might be. And that's been the biggest coolest thing here is like teachers are always like, you want to plan with me? Like, you want to sit with me and plan? I'm like, yeah, that's how we're going to do this. Like, we're going to do this together. Like, I want to help you, get that confidence. One of the biggest things of the Google certified coach program is to empower teachers. And I truly believe that. I want to empower you to leverage that technology that can impact the teaching and learning of, not of the teaching of the teacher, but the learning of the student. And then telling them too, like, I can make my schedule. So if you need me, first and second period only, and then you're good to go the rest of the day, I will be there for you. I'll co-teach, I'll support, I'll collect data, whatever it is you need me to do. If you need me all day, I will clear my schedule and you will have me all day long. It's whatever you need. And that's been the biggest game changer for teachers where I'm currently working, is that I am there to support them. And that they know that I'm there to support them. Because I had one teacher that was walking down the hallway, and I overheard her talking to another teacher, and she goes, "So Jared's been with you all day long?" She's like, "Yeah, he's been helping me and helping my students. Like, it's been great to have a second set of hands in the classroom as we do. We were introducing Cami to the kids." And she's like, "Oh, well, do you think you come to my classroom?" And she's like, and I chimed in, yes, I can come to your classroom. What do you need? Let's plan together. Send me some dates. And then we did a virtual field trip it was a virtual field trip that she and I created. She just wanted to create it for the students to do. And that's great. The kids did it. They were interacting with it. But that was helping the teacher know that she can create herself these experiences for the students. And so that's been kind of the nice thing, is trying to get my foot in the door, to get teachers to understand that I'm not going to just go, "Hey, you should use Flip. Peace out. Let me know if you need something else. Bye." Which I think is something that has happened to them in the past, I think, where they've just been told, you need to use this, and then they've got no support, and then things have gone bad. Because I've heard some horror stories where the teacher's like, "Well, I did this, it fell apart, it was awful, I don't want to do this again." And it's like, no. Look, that is my role. Like, I want to coach you, I want to help you, I want to empower you to be able to do this with your students. And in turn, you are empowered, therefore your students will be empowered. And so it's been a slow burn. I made a TikTok video talking about, the first semester, and, I'm always looking up, and there's still more challenges. There's going to be a lot more challenges as we go into second semester. But again, it is exciting. It's a slow burn. I have to keep reminding myself that, because as a coach, you want to change the world. You want to have this huge impact right away. And that's not always the case. And so you just I'll just keep working at it. At one point, I'll get everybody, but right now I'll take whoever I can get and help those that want it, and keep saying, create. I'm here to help empower you. I'm here to support you. I'm here to be what you need me to be in your classroom.
That is awesome, Jared. And, talking about impact, I know that you want to get to everybody there within your district, but I must say that you have made a great impact on even people outside the district, people that are on Twitter with all your shares, everybody on social media, even mutual friends, us in the global GEG group and Google Innovators, and everything through the work that you do. So don't sell yourself short, my friend, because you are making a huge impact. And I know that you're going to do great things there at your school as well. So keep up the great work, because you're definitely inspirational. You're definitely somebody that I look up to for sure.
Well, I appreciate that. I really do. I don't, not to say I don't believe you, but I just I appreciate it, because they're imposter syndrome is real. We learned that during the Innovator and everything like that. Imposter syndrome is real, and there are a lot of days where I feel like I'm an imposter, or I'm looking at what other people are doing. I'm like, oh, I wish I could do that, or I wish I had more time. Like things like that. So thank you. I appreciate that.
No.
Thank you, Georgina. I see your comments as well. So
Yeah,
I
no.
appreciate it.
And that's the truth, Jared. That's the truth coming from me and just being very honest. And even Georgina backed it up right here too, as well. Such a creative leader, Jared. Keep going on, my friend. And we see you. We see you. Trust me, Jared. So you just keep doing what you're doing. And again, when those thoughts come about, just remember us because we see you and we're everybody else is benefiting too from the great things that you're sharing. And Coach here chiming in also, dude, keep crushing it, both of you. So yeah, just
Thank
keep
you.
crushing it. So, Jared, before we wrap up with the last three questions, just off the top of your head, maybe top three things as you, as a technology coach, speaking to maybe somebody else that is new in this role or maybe interested in this role. What would be your top three things that, as far as advice for somebody coming into this role?
Um, Advice would be um number one, to try to get a lot of the frustrations out of the way first is to work with your administrator. Try to get your administrator on board. There's a lot of great coaching books out there. Jim Knight, Elena, is it Eglera? Sorry, I'm mispronouncing names. And then the Google certified coaching program. Get to know that, work with your administrator, and getting them on board, because your biggest advocate is going to be your school administration, because they're going to help open those doors for you, put you in the spotlight. There are going to be times where they're going to tell you who you need to coach, because that teacher might be faltering a little bit. But you just being part of that, getting your administration on board is probably the biggest one. The next one would be build your PLN. Join the PLNs that are out there, the coaching groups, your local GEGs, podcasts like this. Look for anybody out there that can help be a mentor to you. Some of the original dynamic learning project people are out there and very active. It can help point you in the right direction or give you advice. And then two, just always stay positive. It's very easy to get bogged down in the negative, and that's like my own fault too. Like, there are times where the negativity just gets to be so much, and I have shut down when I really shouldn't, or I've resisted hard conversations because of negativity or fear out of things. And so while that is 100% real thing to deal with, it's learning how to deal with that, because there's going to be situations where things are going to be negative, things are going to be hard, but try to maintain a positive attitude with it. Surround yourself with positive people like Georgina, you, Fonz, everybody that's out there, even my original mentors. I still talk to Dee and Heather and Rachel, as I go back to them when things get hard, or if I have questions and things like that. So definitely, build your PLN, reach out to people, and surround yourself with as much positivity, because inside of a school, you're in your own world. You're in that world, and sometimes it's hard to see outside of that world, and the negativity kind of will add up. So look for those people to help pull you out.
Excellent. Well, great tips, Jared. Thank you so much for just being very insightful with that, because those three tips definitely help anybody out, and really in any position too as well. So thank you so much for sharing that. So now, before we wrap up, we've got the three final questions here. So Jared, here we go with question number one. In the current state of education, what would you say is your edu kryptonite?
Yes, Georgina, find your tribe. That is very true. Find your tribe, and the Google PLN groups are a great way to find tribes. Kryptonite. I will go back to what I said earlier. Negativity is one that just seems to be swirling in education right now, and that's for a lot of different factors. And so trying to remain positive, come in with that positive attitude, surround yourself with positive people, because it is hard, especially when you are a coach and you are very active in all the different circles and cliques and things in your building or your district. It is very easy to get weighed down by that. So trying to overcome the negativity, and because like even like what William had said earlier, the students will feed off that. If the teacher's negative, the students will feed off of that. And so whatever you can do to try to overcome the negativity around you, that I think that's my kryptonite. Because again, it's hard as a coach. When you build those relationships, people come to you with things like, you're not gonna believe what Fonz did, or I can't believe the decisions the administration is making, and you're like, so you try to stay positive, a lot of nodding. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. One of the biggest things I've learned over the years is, mm-hmm, mm-hmm, I'm here, I hear you. Try not to offer too much commentary, because that can come around on you. And so it's the negativity, and I wish we could find a way to get rid of a lot of negativity. And as we all know, education right now is in a kind of a weird spot right now. So if I can stay positive.
There you go. All right, good answer. All right, question number 2. If you could have a billboard with anything on it, what would it be and why?
All right, so I've thought of this. I may need to get with Georgina to figure out how to draw this or to create it, but I am thinking a billboard, kind of like, you remember He-Man? You remember the old cartoon He-Man?
Yeah.
Okay, so He-Man, he's got
Yes,
the sword, and he said, "I've got the power." Well, mine would be similar, maybe a teacher holding up a Chromebook, or some kind of device or whatever, and to say, you have the power to empower students to leverage technology in creative and impactful ways, something like that.
No, that's a great billboard, honestly. And I can see that as those billboards that kind of kind of pop out, like there's that extra little cutout, so then you can actually see the hand coming out, and then you can go ahead and read that. And you do have the power, and teachers do have the power to empower. So I love the way that you put that. That's very well said. All right, Jared, last.
It's pulling them out. It's pulling that out of them. That's the great part about being a coach, is like, when you see them feel empowered and really start to take on challenges, you're like, yes, this was worth everything.
Excellent. All right, last question, Jared. Let's say that Jared Johnson started his EdTech podcast, and I was your guest on your show. So what would be one question you'd like to ask me?
All right, so I would ask you, what are your 2 wishes for education in your district, that you have for your students? So two wishes in the world of education that you live in, that you can influence directly.
Ooh, that I can influence directly. Okay. I thought you meant like wishes, like, oh man, if I could have anything. All right. So let's see. Okay. Number 1, I completely agree with you. And I'm going to piggyback off of what you're saying, is that I wish my district would do more to empower students by allowing them to be creative. So one of the things that we've noticed, and I had this conversation, I think maybe a year ago, or a little bit more than a year ago, with Tisha Poncio, that we noticed that, at least here in Texas, from 3rd grade to maybe about 9th grade, students kind of lose that little sense of creativity, because from 3rd grade on, it's state testing every single year. So everything is kind of centered around that, and it's more teacher centered than student centered. So a lot more student centered approach. That's one thing that I know that we can influence by just training teachers, and allowing them to learn to create lessons and experiences for students in different ways that can be delivered in a more student centered approach. And my next wish would be probably just people taking risks. Don't be afraid to be a risk taker when it comes to, empowering your students, or even empowering yourself in a classroom. As a teacher, my biggest risk was going into a lesson not knowing everything as far as the tech that I wanted to implement. However, with the basics of showing kids, this is what I would love for you to produce, then they came back with something else that was way better than I expected. and I ended up learning from them. So much like you said, where my first and second period taught me the most. By fourth block, I seemed like the expert, but I was really learning from them. So that would be my wish number two. So number one, allow students to be more creative. Number two, be more of a risk taker in the classroom and allow students to grow and learn from your students. So that's really what I would love. So that's a
All
great
right,
question, Jared.
one more to piggyback on that. What would be one wish you have for education across the United States?
One wish that we can do our state assessments differently. That there wouldn't be so much, on that, where teachers just feel so overwhelmed. So maybe just changing things up a little bit. I'm not saying that not to assess. I mean, maybe like an end of the year assessment, first semester, second semester, final exam, sort of. But, you know, something that is not so high pressured where it just really can burn teachers out and burn administrators out and burn districts out. So that would be my one wish that I know I may not have the power to influence directly, but if we can get just change the state testing system, that would be good. All right, Jared. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate this awesome conversation. And thank
Me
you so
too.
much also for sending me that box of coffee. It was great to be able to chat and sip some coffee with you, my friend. And thank you to Loveland Coffee as well. This really is the best coffee in South Carolina. All right. So thank you so much for that and making this conversation very energetic. So thank you, Jared. I really appreciate you. Keep doing what you're doing, my friend. And always remember you are making a bigger impact than you may think. Everything that you do share does impact all of us outside over here, in a very positive way. So thank you. As always, I also want to thank Georgina
You as well.
also for joining us also as well. Georgina here, thanks for sharing your inspiring tradecraft with us. So yes, Jared, thank you so much for sharing all that great advice. I want to thank Coach William Jeffrey as well for joining us in the chat and just making this conversation that much better too as well. And for all our audience members that are going to be catching this on the replay, thank you as always from the bottom of my heart for making my EdTech life what it is today. As you see today, our mission is to connect educators and creators one show at a time. So please make sure you stop by our website at myedtech.life and check out this episode and the other 158 other amazing episodes where you can learn so much from amazing teachers. And of course, as well, please make sure you stop by our merch store. If you want to contribute to our mission, we've got some great designs so you can support the podcast. We've got sweaters, we've got loungewear, we've got these great caps too as well. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow. That really helps us also as well. So thank you. And as always, my friends, until next time, don't forget, stay techy.